Alice, thank you so much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure. And I can delightfully say season 2 race winner with W Series. How have the last couple of weeks been for you?
Absolutely manic, Jenny. The wait was over finally 2 weeks ago, but it was just so great to be back out. And the first race weekend in Austria was an absolute dream for me, sort of dominating the weekend, fastest in practice, qualifying and winning the race with fastest lap as well. So it was an absolute dream. The second weekend didn't quite go to plan with car issues, in all three sessions, and the race was a bit disappointing, finishing P8, but I felt like it was the best I could do in the circumstances, really. But we're heading to Silverstone, third in the championship, 4 points behind. It's a Brit 1, 2, 3 in the championship, which I'm sure for the British fans makes it a little bit more special. But it's been crazy, and this is one of the races, Silverstone, that I just really, have been so excited about. So I can't wait to get out on track.
So Alice, how do you control that enthusiasm and excitement as a driver to be going out to Silverstone and actually racing, especially on an F1 weekend, to the professional driver that has to be very serious and very sensible?
Oh, really? Is that what drivers are meant to be?
In fairness, I've never met one yet that is serious and sensible.
No, exactly. It's obviously I've had experience of racing at British Grand Prix before. So that was back in 2012, and the buzz was just amazing. So I've had that sort of experience and the emotions and everything. And I think this is going to be quite a different sort of weekend. We obviously got full capacity, which I'm super excited about. And I've had loads of great messages on social media. People are going to be watching the championship, but it's, a real first. Obviously, W Series, the first all-female championship is going to be at the British Grand Prix. But I'm just going to look and do exactly what, the approach I took to Austria was just take it session by session and day by day. And you do, it's going to be interesting to see, the fans, the amount of fans, there in the grandstand cheering us all on. But once you're there, you don't notice them when you're in the race and you're in the zone. It's only really at the end of the race where you notice the fans, and it's such a shame. Obviously, we can't mix and say hi, but obviously for safety reasons. But it's just an amazing occasion, and never did I think that I would have the opportunity to race at British Grand Prix again. 2012 was the last time, and I just can't wait.
Take me back to the beginning of your Silverstone experience, because it's obviously an enduring love affair.
Oh, it is. So I've been a motorsport fan ever since I can remember. It was really, really small. And I remember having the opportunity to go to the British Grand Prix, probably, I want to say, when between 6 and 8 years old. And I was a huge diehard Michael Schumacher fan. Everything I had to wear would have to be Ferrari red. Any merchandise had to have Schumacher, not just Ferrari on it. So I remember attending my Grand Prix, and I've still actually got, I think it was at my parents' house, my first little Ferrari Michael Schumacher hat. And there's some cool photos that are floating around in my mum's album of me just super excited. And I remember we were on the pit straights. It would have been the old pit straight, and just the roar of those engines. I had my little ear defenders off, and I remember just taking them off ever so slightly as the engines went past. And yeah, I didn't do that again because it definitely hurt my ears. But just the buzz of being at the British Grand Prix for my first time. I remember that sort of the smells, and sometimes you go to circuits and you get those sort of smells again, and it just takes you back. So I've had some awesome experiences, and I've been so lucky to go to quite a few British Grand Prix, including the one where Michael Schumacher broke his legs. I was there as well. So you can imagine I wasn't a happy bunny at that young age. But no, it's just an incredible Grand Prix, and Silverstone do an amazing job, and the British fans are just amazing. So to have the opportunity as a driver to race your home Grand Prix, especially when it's the British Grand Prix, it's amazing.
It's funny to think that the Schumacher name is going to be racing again at Silverstone. Do you kind of follow the lineage? Are you quite excited to see Mick back in Formula One?
Yeah, it's such an iconic name, isn't it? And he's doing a great job in Haas at the moment, and it's so nice to see a Schumacher racing out on the grid, and especially Mick. trying to follow in his dad's footsteps, and I'm sure he's going to get so much support from the British crowd, and sort of maybe they'll make him feel like he's a little bit at home. So yeah, I'm super excited to see Schumacher racing in F1 at the British Grand Prix again.
When I spoke to Damon Hill for this podcast, he always said that Schumacher wasn't really that much kind of cared for by the British public when the fans were there. It was all about Damon. It was all about Coulthard. It was definitely a British affair. But as one of, I suppose you must have been there couldn't have been many Schumacher fans out there in the crowd. Did you feel you were kind of one of a few?
Maybe, but I was just so in the zone and super excited, little child. I remember as well, my dad always just went, right, don't run off, don't get distracted by the stands. I remember he used to give me his mobile number, and it would be written on my hand, I think, just in case I happened to wander off, get distracted by these stands, these Schumacher stands. So I can't really remember. I'm sure there were a few others, and I'm sure I was probably one of the very few to be all dressed in Ferrari kit. But
you must have looked so cute.
Probably I'll have to find a photo out and send it to you at some point. But another memory I have actually is me and my friend Ed. We made a big banner for Murray Walker. So when he was retiring, or it was going to be his last Grand Prix, we made a big banner. I can't remember what it said. All I can remember is we just covered the kitchen with a huge sheet, and I can't remember what was painted on it. I'm sure, again, my mum might be able to remember. Unfortunately, we didn't win. But, that's another great memory that I have of Silverstone.
Oh, what special times. Just amazing. And now you're going to be going to an F1 weekend and actually competing. And I'm sure there will be thousands of young children watching, being inspired by what you guys are doing. Is that a sort of important part of W Series for you and your responsibility as a role model?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, W Series has inspired quite a few young drivers and young girls. Using Brands Hatch, for example, back in 2019, I just remember the autograph queue. I'd never seen anything like it for a series, a junior series. The queue was ridiculously long, and the amount of young females, there were some young 2-3-year-olds in the queue, ranging up to in mid-20s, who are all saying they're really inspired and they wanted to get into motorsport. Obviously, okay, not the 3-year-olds, they weren't speaking, but they loved cars and everything. So it was so nice to meet them all, and I really think W Series, okay, it's got its critics. I think every sport will have its critics, and every series will have its critics, but there's so much positivity floating around on social media and from meeting people when we can at the circuits. And I'm expecting some great support, and there's going to be 6 Brits on the grid, so I'm looking forward to them getting all behind us.
Now tell us more. 6 Brits, we're not used to this treat.
No, so an extra Brit on the grid. There's 5 in total racing in the actual series for the whole year, but W Series have reserve drivers. So one of my young drivers, Abby Pulling, is a reserve driver, and she's been selected to step in at the British Grand Prix. They had Gosha Radesh do the first 2 races in Austria, and Abby, they've selected to a nice little treat for her to experience her first ever British Grand Prix, and a really proud moment to have a driver of mine that I've been working really closely with on the grid as well, as long as she stays behind me.
Yeah, she'll get a talking to if she doesn't.
Yeah, she will.
It's so exciting, and I'm so pleased for you, because I know how hard you've worked trying to help and inspire younger drivers coming through, and Abby is such a success story. You obviously have your own ambition within motorsport, but how do you manage your ambition in motorsport and Abby's as well?
I think you just have to really sort of separate the two. So you've got the driver, then the coach. So obviously, when I'm away with Abby, I've got little Ella Stevens as well, who's coming up through the ranks and doing great things in karting. She's also aiming to use W Series as a springboard to get herself into Formula One. Both of them share the same dream and passion, and that is racing in Formula One. So for me, I try and tell them and teach them, all the things that I did correct in my career, and all the things not to do, and many things that I wish I could turn back the clock and change. Many mistakes made, but pass those on and sort of guide them in the right direction. It's motorsport, as you know, Jenny, it's a tough world. Sport in general, it's so tough. It's dog eat dog. So I'd love to see either one of them, who are hugely talented. And that's not me being biased. I always say, don't worry, I wouldn't be working with you guys if I didn't think you had the talent to make it all the way. And they both work extremely hard. So I'd just love to see them be rewarded, and I know they both can make it to the top.
Is the moment coming, Alice? Are we getting closer? Do you really feel in your bones to some sort of equality, but also, I think, the hallowed turf of seeing a female seriously in Formula One?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's only, just around the corner, Jenny. It's been a long time coming, and there's a lot more females sort of coming into the sport, and a lot more sort of support for young females. And I still come across, young girls that aren't really into motorsport. For example, when I play hockey, and say, well, are girls allowed to race in Formula One? So there are still, young girls out there that have no idea, and it's kind of crazy to think that. But I think it's a matter of time really before we see a female not just participating in a Formula One weekend, in terms of maybe of a free practice role, but certainly on the grid soon.
Just finally, because although I could talk to you for days, what are your expectations for Silverstone? What are you hoping for from the British Grand Prix this year?
I think, all of us will just want to win, and that's going to be all of our aim out there. To win your home Grand Prix would just be absolutely amazing. So for me, I'm just absolutely looking forward to getting on track and winning. Obviously, I can't say anything less. To win would be incredible, but I think as an overall is to keep the consistency in the championship. Round 2 at Austria last time out was a bit tough. We were leading the championship by a good 5 points. We're now 4 behind. So I think I just need to try and get consistent results. As I look at it from a whole, but obviously I just want to go out there and win.
Alice, it's always a delight to speak to you. We hope you have a fantastic British Grand Prix weekend on every front. We will be cheering you on. Really excited to see how W Series fares in front of the F1 crowd. I hope it goes really well for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenny.